Hey everyone, welcome back to the Layback Podcast. Joining us today is fifth rounder to the Rays, right-handed pitcher, Oregon State alum, Albuquerque native, Kmatz. We got connected with Kamatz. Gosh, I don't know if it's technically through Oregon State and what we do there with the Beavs, or if it's through Campos and everything he's doing with Albuquerque Baseball Academy. But I guess we just kind of hit you from both sides and you had no choice but to pick up a Flex Pro Grip device and just start at some point. But anyways, Jacob, thanks for coming on today and really looking forward to getting into this conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to talk some shop.
I guess also kind of following suit with some of the other guys that were just bombarded by Flex Pro Grip, whether it was through college or Campos. Your partner in crime to an extent, Aiden May, you're following him up. I know you'll offer a better performance. You had to do that constantly during this past college season, right? You just had to pick up his slop on a
Yeah,
Friday and just
all the
shove it
time,
down their throats on Saturday.
all the time. He'd go out there and punch out 14, and I'd have to try and one up him and get 15, but that never happened.
And then also now, probably in a tougher spot, rather than you trying to follow up Aiden May Friday to Saturday, is your brother trying to wear Kmatz across the back of his jersey at Oregon State now.
Yeah, no, it's actually kind of cool, and they gave him the same number. So he's just got the same jersey, I guess. But he's been shoving, and he threw on Tuesday against Wazoo and threw well, so he's looking good. I'm excited to see kind of the rest of the season for him.
Heck yeah. So, well, you just brought up Wazoo on Tuesday, and I completely forgot about that because I saw that when I was going through Twitter and baseball schedules the other
Mhm.
day. Wazoo and Oregon State, man, what's going on here? Why is a Pac-12 game, and it's still the Pac-12 to me? Why is the Pac-12 game being played on a Tuesday? And also, just what the hell is going on with like conferences in Oregon State now?
I know it's so weird. I was on the phone with Dorr probably a week ago, and I was like, "You got the Pac-2 championship coming up this week," and so they got a double header. I guess Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I think down the road they play at Wazoo for a couple midweeks too. But it's bizarre, and I don't know. It's crazy. I was salty about it last year when we were playing. I mean, it is what it is. You just kind of I think they're handling it well and doing what they can with it.
So they're just not in a conference right now, technically, right?
Right. They're just independent ball and they're going all around. I think they opened out in Surprise and then they went to Round Rock, Texas, played a few good teams there, went to Arlington, played a few good teams, went home, I think played San Diego. They play a bunch of the West Coast Conference. I know they play some Big Ten schools. They'll obviously play Oregon. They go to Hawaii, which is cool. Never got to do that. I don't know. They've got a good schedule. A lot of road games, which win those, your RPI is looking in a good spot.
Yeah, pros and cons, I guess.
Exactly.
They're going on some awesome trips, but you constantly got the chance to hoist a trophy.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they will. I don't know. They're nasty this year.
They've got
Yes.
some big time arms in on the bump in the pen. I mean, how many dudes are throwing 95 plus there?
I know. It's actually I mean, I don't even know. I don't know. The question is who's not throwing 95 there, honestly. I don't know. They're looking good. It's
I
exciting.
I think I saw something after the first like four games of the season. Maybe 11 pitchers had thrown and eight of them hit something 94 or higher.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Crazy.
nuts. It's cool. I mean, it's a testament to the work that they put in there too, because you've got guys I played with last year there that were 89, 92 guys, and now they're touching fives and sixes, and it's like that's some real work like right there.
And some awesome stuff happening
Hmm.
up at Oregon State as well, building out the DAM analytics department. That is not DAM with an N, that is DAM. Yes, they're the Beavers. It's a really good pun. Everybody smile when you hear that, hopefully.
Yeah.
But that in the pitching lab.
Yeah, no, it's because they got that big hitting facility out in center field and got a few weight room racks in there. I think they have a couple eye pitch machines. I think it would be cool to step in and see what it looks like, but I'm also a little scared. And then some good conditioning spots, and then they transformed the old hitting cages when McKay passed left field into a pitching lab. And Aiden and I went up there in the fall in October to go see Zach and do some football game stuff. We were able to see the beginning parts of it, but seeing some of the pictures and videos that Doors sent us, it looks like it's going to be an arm factory for the next I don't know however long they got it going.
Not that Oregon State already hasn't been an arm factory. It's just going to be
Right.
more so.
Yes. Everybody's sitting 100 and has 15K per nines.
Yes. Yeah, throwing the most insane breaks you've ever seen.
Yes.
20-inch carry heaters, 22 horizontal sinkers, stupid
Yeah.
stuff. All right. Well, we got some of the joking out of the way. Talked about Oregon State. I still think it's comical that your brother's in the same uniform. Major shout out to all the EQ managers out there, but also I'm sure they were like, perfect. We can save about 20 minutes unstitching this name and just leave it here because we know he's coming next year.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'd be lying if that thought didn't cross my mind.
perfect. And you guys are roughly the same build, I'm assuming, so you know you're
Hmm.
from the same family.
Yeah.
So yeah, just that easy. Like here's your XL jersey. Just keep it.
There we go. He's making that thing look a little tighter than I did.
That's all right. He's got to chase your name down in some record books. You've still got that. But
Yeah.
all right, let's step it back now. Let's talk about the journey. So where everything got started in Albuquerque, the baseball pathway for you, and not too much of a question here. I'm just going to pass you
Yeah.
the keys, take the car, and drive.
Yeah. So obviously born and raised in Albuquerque, and then growing up, I played every sport. I got into everything that I could, and I just loved being active and playing and whatever. And then when I got to high school was really when I was, I guess, eighth grade year was when I started pitching. And when I got to high school, it's like, okay, if I really want to be good at this, I want to put all my time into it. So I stopped playing football, stopped playing basketball, went in there and just started playing baseball. And eighth grade year was when I joined ABA. I played for a few other teams, just kind of friends growing up, and then went to ABA and started with that. Got in with Ryan Brewer, Mike Foote, kind of went from there. And throughout the years, it was just playing with different travel teams, and then started getting some college looks freshman, sophomore year. Junior year, went out to a tournament in Arizona. Oregon State was there, and they saw me, and that was a team that I really loved watching ever since the 2018 on it 2017 when they just had that insane team that didn't end up winning. In 2018, they obviously won it. That was kind of my dream baseball school. And when they came calling, it was like that's a no-brainer to me. But I got to sit back and be like, okay, is this really the best choice? And I was like, I have this opportunity. I'm going for it. So I went there, and then the next season, COVID hit. I put on, I don't know, 15 to 20 pounds from that junior to senior year, and then had my senior season, went to school, decided that's what I wanted to do instead of playing pro ball. And so went there and had a good freshman year. I didn't know what I was doing. It was just, hey, you've got the ball, go pitch. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Like, I don't care. It doesn't matter when or where I'm throwing. I'm excited to throw. And so I had a good season. And then going into the next year, I had a few things I wanted to change and could have led to what was going to happen in the future a little bit with UCL sprain. Ended up getting PRP. I kind of was dealing with that for the whole season. I know for at least 7, 8 weeks, and it just kind of gradually got worse and worse, and got to a point where I was throwing 86 and didn't know where it was going. I think that was the first time in my life that I walked the bases loaded and walked in a run, and I was like, something's just not right. And
Right. This isn't
I
me.
right, and so got through 5 innings, and I was never once asked like, how do you feel? I was just always like, I'm just gonna keep pushing ahead. And I was asked like, okay, hey, you don't look right. Like, how are you? I had to be honest, and I was like, I think something's messed up. And so went through that, and then I missed the playoffs, which was tough. I think that was the only time in my college career that I wasn't on the roster, and it was for the most important time of the year. So that wasn't easy, but got a lot of good learning moments from that, and then kind of throughout there. And then had last year, felt like it was a good season, fun. We had a great team, didn't get it done, but a lot of great moments. And then get drafted by the Rays, and now I'm sitting in Port Charlotte on the balcony getting some sun.
It's a really quality, high level overview. So now we're going to step it back, and I
Hmm.
apologize, but I'm going to make you break down kind of each step
No,
of the
that's fine.
process. But outline was great. Okay, so let's go back to the early days when recruiting started. It sounded like you said your sophomore year was when recruiting
Hmm.
kind of picked up, and then you
Hmm.
ultimately committed your junior year, I'm
Hmm.
assuming.
Yep.
Okay. So at the time, how hard were you throwing? What other positions were
Yeah,
you playing, or were you a PO at that point? And
yeah,
maybe what schools were in the mix?
yeah. So my freshman year, I think that was my first offer from New Mexico. Before they even came calling, I was like, I want to go somewhere out of state, just see something new. My freshman year, I was probably 81 to 83, tall, skinny dude. I was 6'2", 150 pounds. From there, sophomore year, I was 84, 87. And I was, at the time, I played a lot of outfield, first base, third base. Aiden and I were the only two, I don't know, good hitters on our high school team for the most part. Sorry to the boys that were on the team, but that's just the facts. And had actually a couple offers to go two-way at some schools. And I was talking to schools like Xavier, New Mexico State. It bounced around. And then I think it was pretty slow my sophomore year. And then junior year was when it really picked up. Nebraska, Kansas State, Wichita State, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Arizona, and then Oregon State came along. And that was when I made my jump to like 88, 91. Those were all for pitching. I wish I could say I had a two-way offer to Oregon State, but I definitely didn't.
You could have just left that part out and
I
people would have
know.
thought like you could really swing it.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, maybe if we didn't swing wood bats in high school, but
You were a wood bat high
yeah,
school team?
yeah. We were, I think New Mexico, could be wrong, but I think we're one of maybe two states that only used wood. And I think
Wow.
it's like Maine or New Hampshire or something like use wood. I don't know, some place like that. But they last year was the first year they changed the BB core. But
Whoa.
I don't know, it was crazy.
You were built
But
for pro ball. You
I
could have
know,
yeah.
just put me out there with my bomb bat.
That's right. Is that what everybody swung?
Yes, yeah. No one
Yeah.
wanted to pay the extra buck in case they broke it. But yeah, it was good. And then junior year, made that jump to 88, 91, and then committed to Oregon State in October of 2019. And from there, it was full vision on the Beavs.
What do you kind of credit the velocity gains to throughout high school? 81 to 83 is very hard as a 14, 15-year-old. There's no question about that. I feel like that doesn't get enough love because the only thing that gets shown on Twitter now is 14-year-olds throwing 90, which is
Hmm.
insane. But 81 to 83 makes you a top tier high school baseball player. And doing that at 15, I think that gets overlooked like crazy. The average high school pitcher is throwing like 75 miles per
Yeah,
hour,
yeah.
but you made significant jumps every single year. So was it commitment to the weight room, training plan, or just filling out and becoming more of an adult?
I think from I didn't start lifting until my sophomore year. So I think freshman year that was pure genes, just talent, and I didn't really do any. I just played. Going into sophomore year, I guess before that, I was going to like the community gym with me and some of my high school buddies, and we just go sit there and rip curls and whatever, just try and look huge. So that was the beginning steps of my weightlifting stuff. Then I got into an actual affiliated gym with ABA with Diego Baca, and he's been great. I've been with him ever since. And so I started doing that, and I made a big jump just because I was actually getting stronger. I wasn't just getting the biceps going, putting some force into the ground. And that was when I made that 84, 87 jump. And that was quick. It was like in the matter of a month or two. I think that was all, I don't know, thanks to the lifting. From there, it was just continuously getting into the weighted ball programs and trying to improve movement patterns. And I think that next jump was the 88, 91, where I matured a little bit more, filled out a little bit more, put on a little more weight. I guess I've had another one recently, I guess, since we're on the topic, is touching fives. It's like, I think that was more of a maturation thing. And then in the off season, we can get into that a little bit of exactly what we focused on this year. But yeah, something a little different every single time, it seems like.
That's kind of what it's going to be, but that's
Hmm.
good foreshadowing for what we'll get into down the line with off-season training. However, you brought up something. We're going to take a little detour here.
Hmm.
You brought up weighted balls and picking those up in high school. Don't worry, I'm not going to villainize anything. I got a plyo ball right next to my laptop, so don't think I'm going to say like, dude, you could have died throwing that thing or
Yeah.
something. Your arm could have fallen off. So you picked it up in high school,
Hmm.
and that maybe at the time, thinking back, what was that, 2017-ish when you
Hmm.
started throwing plyo balls?
Hmm.
At that point, they were still kind of like counterculture. What was the exposure to them, and are they still a part of your routine? Kind of how do
Hmm.
you use them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess I'll say this first is like on the opposite side of not using plyos. I think when you're a kid, just play baseball, just love the game, just love playing and being around your friends and don't overcomplicate it. I never knew what driveline was, never knew any of this. And then so you got in Tim Campos and in ABA, I think my freshman year, and he's got 4 kids in the back cages doing all these plow balls and stuff, and you're like, I don't know, it opens your eye. You're like, what is that? And so you kind of get accustomed to like that being around, and then end up getting in with compost. It was kind of like, well, I don't really have any other ideas on how to get better, and this guy seems like he really knows what he's talking about. So I'm gonna buy in, and I think I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it for this winter and see how I'm feeling, and I always felt great. So I'm gonna keep doing this because it seems like it's working, and Compost never stops trying to get better. So that's a good person to want to be around. And so he's really just the one that's introduced pretty much everything that I utilize now. Yeah, I use them all the time still. On my recovery days, I won't touch one. I'll just throw them with the baseball, but um, a lot of like movement pattern stuff.
So early on, plyo balls for you, you didn't even really know what you're getting into with them. It's just like those other guys who are throwing kind of harder using them. Let me
Yes,
see if that works for me.
basically.
That's great. But hey, it was guided. We should probably
Mm.
really stress this part. When you picked it up and started doing it, it was guided by someone with
Yes,
significant experience in
yes,
compost. He did the research. He'd been utilizing them for a while. So it's not like you just willy-nilly thought, well, let me just throw this thing hard. It was
right.
for
Exactly.
patterning purpose.
Exactly. It wasn't like I saw Trevor Bauer doing it and bought them and then just threw them into my brick wall at my house just on my own. There was a lot of good feedback. Now, I have watched my fair share of Trevor Bauer videos to learn some stuff, but
For sure. I'm still hoping myself that one of those videos is going to click and all of a sudden that 95 is going to show up for me.
yeah, there we
Well,
go.
yeah, hopefully I'll be joining you in spring training one of these days.
Hey, there's a spot here if you can ride the ball and throw 95.
I can ride the ball, can't throw 95. I can do one of those things if they'll take me. Now, getting back on path. I led us down
Yes.
this other route, but we got to keep this rolling. You're super busy, I know, on this off day. So
Yeah.
we went down this plyo ball route. We were talking about your velo gains. We're in your junior year where you ultimately do commit to Oregon State. You said it was your dream school. You're at this 88 to 91 mark. I'm assuming that puts you as one of the hardest throwers in the state of New Mexico. At this time, how were you able to stay motivated when I'm assuming you started garnering some attention? Like you get a top 10 school in the country to sign you,
Hmm.
and you're probably every park you go to, you're the guy that people want to see. What kept you motivated?
I mean, I think in the moment it was kind of, it was starting to talk to MLB scouts, and it was like, man, if they think I have a shot to get drafted, I'm gonna work really hard to try and make this happen or open people's eyes. And I was short-sighted in that sense. I really don't think I had too much of a long-sighted view for anything growing up for the most part. That's been a development in my mentality over the last year or so. And these guys think I can do this. I'm gonna try and prove them right. It ended up happening, but then I got to school and it was also kind of like, okay, well, every other kid is the best in their state, going to Oregon State, going to the LSUs and stuff like that. Like I have to be at the top of my game to go in there and actually play. So it was kind of that thing of just I want to be making the team. It was just short sighted in that sense. It wasn't anything crazy.
I guess I didn't realize that you were garnering draft attention coming out of high school. And did you get calls during the draft, or were you like foot in the ground, I'm going to Oregon State, so like guys don't even worry about it?
We were kind of in limbo. It was I set a number where I was like, okay, if I get drafted, I can live comfortably for the next 6 years off of this. And if it's not that, I'm going to school. And I think that was too high for teams. I never really had too much back and forth talks, just a few text messages here and there, but it wasn't anything crazy. And it was pretty much after day 2, it was like, all right, I'm going to school. Let's do it. And at the time, I was actually I was in Bend, Oregon, and playing in the West Coast League because the Oregon State coaches had sent me there. I guess calling him out for a second, it was so Kyle Novak was on the 2018 national championship team. He was the head coach of the Bend Elks at the time. And so he really wanted me to go to Oregon State. And I get a call from him in like the 4th or 5th round. During the 4th or 5th round, get a call, pick up, and it's him. I'm like, dude, that's not cool. Like I was pumped because that right around then was like kind of when I was hearing stuff may happen. Yeah. Anyway, just kept playing for the Elks that summer and then went on to school.
Nice. All right. Well, that's also well, really really shitty move, but hilarious looking back on it. Uh, and what I was ultimately going to say, incredible experience that you got to play in the West Coast League going into your freshman year.
hmm
There's nothing like summer college baseball.
hmm
And I know given your workloads all the time at Oregon State, you probably was that your only season playing summer ball or
It
did you
was. Yep.
yeah, so I mean, I'm a firm believer that everybody should do it once, more
hmm
for the experience. I
hmm
get that it might not be the best thing for the developmental cycle for every single guy, but my favorite competitive baseball memories are in summer.
hmm Yep. 100%. And I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I think I got there because our high school season started pretty late because of COVID. So it ended in middle of June. So I got there late into the season. I only was there for maybe I think my first game was 4th of July and saw maybe the last month of the season, but it was awesome. I loved it. The only thing was like I got these bus rides through the middle of nowhere, Washington. I can't even imagine what pro ball would have been like right now. So I'm like, I think I made the right decision to go to school for a few years and get on some planes.
It's like minor league road trips,
Yes,
minor league for minor league road trips.
yes,
It's the prep that you'll now
yes,
have to go through.
exactly.
Granted, you're likely to be in I forget the name of what the Southern League or something like
hmm
that, where
Yeah,
road trips aren't going to be that
right,
crazy. I mean, your longest
right.
one's going to be what, 5 hours or something, maybe six.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
It shouldn't
nothing
be too
bad
bad. No.
versus like West Coast League. I mean, I played in the Alaska League, so we were looking at the occasional like 7, 8 hour trip. I mean,
Yeah.
West Coast League, very similar. They,
No scenery. You're looking at just hills and hills of dead grass, and it's like, all right, we got 4 more hours of this, but
beautiful.
yeah.
Yes. All right. Again, getting back on
hmm
track. So, freshman year, how much time do you get your freshman year? Are you in the rotation right away?
No, I didn't know what I was going to be. I think I was built up as sort of a starter. I was going to be like that 5th starter for midweeks and then possibly throw out of the bullpen on the weekends. And unfortunately, we had a couple injuries happen, and it was just kind of like next man up. It was pretty early because we had an injury preseason to our Sunday starter, Will Frisch, who's with the Cubs now. And then week 2, Jake Fennings, our Saturday guy, went down with shoulder. And so I got the ball and just kind of kept running with opportunities. I never saw myself in that position. I was always just kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw, and I never thought about it on a deep sense, but ended up getting opportunities, and it was pretty surreal when you look back on it, but it was awesome.
Statistically, how'd you do? Or were you just kind of riding the high of being a weekend starter at Oregon
I
State?
mean, really, I beat myself up about it sometimes. I think I cared more about statistics my sophomore year than I did my freshman year because I saw the success I had my freshman year. I was just trying to win, and I knew we had a good team. I was like, as long as I can go 5 innings of good ball, I think we have a good shot to win because of the lineup we had. So, I mean, looking at my stats were good. They weren't anything crazy. I think I had like 77 innings maybe with 65 punch outs. Like it was okay. I didn't walk many guys, let up a lot of solo homers. I think I'm second all time Oregon State list of home runs, but it was a solid season. And I didn't really read too far into it until I think reflecting after the end of the year.
Then do you approach your sophomore year as like, I'm the guy, this is on me. If we're gonna
Mm.
win, it's because I perform, that kind of deal?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I took it, unfortunately. And if I had to do it over again, I'd change some things. But when the season ended, I went and looked at all my numbers. I'm like, oh, lefties hammered me. So try and figure out my changeup, get that going, and then I ended up being the Saturday guy. And again, in a way, I was a little bitter about it for sure, just because it was like, dang, I had the success last year. Like the Friday guy's gone, I should be bumped up, right? That's just simple, just how it works. And that's not how it works. You don't just get free opportunities for what you did unless you've been in the big leagues for 10 plus years. Then you get to come back around. But kind of pitched that year, and I had a worse year. I was throwing slower. Could be from a number of things. I'm not sure, but I've tried to theorize on it. But yeah.
Well, we're going to dive into one of the
Mhm.
theories. I know you
Mhm.
said you tried to change some things in the off season. It's really when you started to tinker. You just mentioned there adding the
Mhm.
changeup. Also, you mentioned it earlier in the episode. You were dealing with UCL
Mhm.
sprain, or ultimately diagnosed as a UCL sprain requiring PRP. So
Mhm.
when did that forearm flare up happen? How long were you battling it? And also, this is probably bad podcasting on me. I was about to ask another question, say, what did you change in the off season? So
Yeah.
two just entirely different paths. But
Like, what did I change going into that off, like after my freshman year, going into sophomore year of that off
yeah. So
season?
what were
I
those
see.
mechanical
And
adjustments?
then
And
what
then
happened with the injury?
we'll put the
I gotcha.
UCL sprain on the back
Okay.
burner for a
Yeah.
moment and we'll pick that up later.
Yeah. I was trying to throw harder and I was just throwing a lot. And I was trying to make my mechanics look like some cookie cutter approach that
Hmm.
wasn't exactly how my body should move anatomically. And so I started, truthfully, I saw Cooper Jerpy and I was like he's nasty. Let me try and get the same shoulder separation as him. Let me get my vertical shin and my layback in a certain point. And it was just kind of trying too hard with a lot of the things and didn't make me athletic. I got super robotic. I tried to develop a changeup, and I think that's kind of what led to some of the injury stuff. Was I had dropped my arm slot so much trying to get over on top of it and just turn it over that I think my body just wasn't used to throwing at that angle. And so over a course of the season, it just kind of diminished. And so those were like the main things. I never really set too many goals until this last year and really didn't follow them. So it was kind of a just get stronger, throw a better changeup. And I didn't really have a process of how I was doing it, but that was kind of the main idea of that off season. Ended up being what it was the year
Yeah.
after. So
So maybe summarizing very
mhm.
simply, you tried to chase down things that probably weren't in your best interest, maybe
Yeah,
not having a full picture of what direction you should have gone. And
hmm
then as a result, your body was exposed to stresses that it was
right,
not prepared to handle.
but
All right, well, simple enough. We can move on from that,
yeah,
and let's talk about the injury. So you guys, really good ball club.
hmm
You're heading into playoffs. Maintain the Saturday roll. It sounds like velo kind of starts to drop over
hmm
time. You hit the point where you're only throwing 86 as a Saturday starter in the Pac-12, which
hmm
I wouldn't say bodes particularly well. How were you fighting through that and still able to manage some success?
yeah. I know it was kind of just a thing where it was like I'm getting outs and we're winning games. And so if I can go out there, if I'm hurting, but I'm getting outs and they keep putting me out there, I'm gonna keep doing it. I was taking a lot of ibuprofen and trying in between the weeks, and I was so dumb. I was throwing too much. And in the midweeks, I was like, I'd have a bad start, and then I would throw literally 40 pitches in the bullpen, and I wasn't able to recover. But yeah, it was just I'm not gonna say anything and I'm just gonna keep trying to win. And it got to a point where I was like, we're losing every game I pitch because I'm that bad and it hurts. And so, like I said, it was probably 8 to 10 weeks of the season where I was feeling it, and then got to that last start and it was nearly every pitch where I was like, something's not right. I just walked six guys and let up three bombs. Like, I gotta say something. So that's kind of the gist of that.
And what the diagnostic process look
Hmm.
like? You go in, get an MRI,
Hmm.
ultrasound, or
I
if
went
you
and got an MRI and came back saying that I had a proximal tear, and it was kind of, all right, like, you're not going to throw. And I said, well, let me just, like, I wanted to throw. I said, okay, if we get to Omaha, I'm throwing. And like, yeah, no. And I was like, all right, well, so what now? Like, what are we going to do? They recommended going 6 weeks of no throw and then building up again. And I kind of took a different approach where with compost, using pulse to navigate that space. And I was like, I've got all summer, all fall. At first, PRP wasn't on the table. And I was like, well, if I have this time, like, it can't hurt. So I decided to do that. Surgery was never in discussion, which was awesome. I'm grateful for that. But so we go through it, and kind of took my time all the way up until December. I took a pretty lengthy build up process and really just started looking at my habits of, like, okay, going back and trying to pinpoint, oh, why did this happen? And it could have been a number of things, but it's like, okay, I need to clean up my nutrition, need to clean up my body, hydration, sleep, focusing on sleep, just the things I can control, I wasn't controlling. And so from there, it was like, okay, if I can do everything in my power to not let this happen again, we'll be in a good spot. And if it does, then maybe I just have a weak UCL and we get it fixed. It was kind of a lot of different thoughts going in my head, but we I think we chose the right thing, and the rehab process was good.
Yeah, okay. So you pretty much treat the entire
Hmm.
fall as a rehab,
Hmm.
and then once again, you don't get moved up in the rotation. You're the Saturday guy yet again, this time the Friday guy being your best bud, Aiden May.
Yeah.
So how'd that feel when your buddy transfers in? You've been teammates forever. Did it hurt a little less this time knowing it was Aiden, or did that bother you more?
No, truthfully, it never really bothered me. And it was awesome because I remember talking to him and I was like, why am I not pissed? And I was like, no, I think it's because, like, I know how hard you work, and, like, you're nasty. Like, there's a reason that he went in the second round, because he is nasty. And so having that guy at the front of your rotation, I'm like, I get to watch him pitch. I don't care when I throw. And I kind of got back in that mentality of, like, this team can win a natty. So I'm going to do whatever I can. I don't care when I throw. Just throw me out there and I'll get it done. It was fun. It was really fun. And take a step back, it was pretty surreal to throw alongside him at a school like that when we never really envisioned that growing up either. But it was cool.
You probably felt like Little League, just handing the
Yes.
ball off to your best bud.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, that's so cool. I know there's a couple articles about you guys doing it together. Sadly, it took you guys a few years to reunite, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk through the junior year a little bit. Now, you guys obviously were a really successful team. It's a shame that you guys fell short because you definitely could have won it all if things
Mm-hmm.
played out a little bit differently. But now, maybe what you're working through personally is what
Mm-hmm.
I want to get to
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure the draft is looming. You likely have a really good idea that your name is going to get called, but did you have an idea of when that was going to happen and how'd you manage that throughout the year?
Yeah, I think I was lucky because, like, my senior year of high school, I was going through the draft process and I still had to go pitch. And it was kind of similar too. Our high school team was really good and we were just focused on winning state. A lot of the guys that were draft prospects, we all kind of said, let's just win. Let's just focus on winning and everything else will take care of itself. Really just tried to get ourselves in the best possible shape to go out there and just win the game and do what you could do. And the draft was going to figure itself out, and it did for most guys.
Yeah, I guess it's easy when you can kind of put your arm around each guy
Hmm.
that's in a similar position. Be like, yeah, well, the draft's going to happen whether we like it or not. No matter if the result is what we want, we can't really control it. But what we
Exactly.
can do is win today. So
Yeah,
let's do that.
exactly. So, and that was harped on early on. That was our team vision the whole year, was just winning the national championship. So it was a lot easier. I think it would have been tougher if, we were on a team that wasn't very good. I'm not sure how you you navigate that as easily, but we're definitely lucky.
For sure. And then you ultimately get the call from the Tampa Bay
Hmm.
Rays, obviously an organization well known for development and really just getting guys to throw harder. I know
Hmm.
that's a big piece of what they do. Did they hit you with somewhat of a plan? I understand some of this might be under wraps that you can't exactly share, but did they give you a vision to a certain extent of what they see for you coming down the line, or maybe some insight of why they wanted you?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was we see that you can spin the ball well and you have a good analytically good heater. Let's get you to throw a little bit harder. Let's develop a slider. Let's improve your changeup. And so that was kind of the base thing from day one and kind of go from there. And then this offseason, I did a lot of work with Compost to kind of, okay, this is what they envision for me. They know way more than I do. So let's kind of follow what they're asking of me and see where that takes us. And Compost, this is what we're trying to do. So how do we do that? So we built a process throughout the whole off season. In the weight room, we're gonna move fast all the time. I've always been just trying to lift heavy weight and I'm just so slow. And so let's do sprints, let's do quick movements and just get those fast switch muscles moving. And so that was all off season, did that and then developed the sliders and pitch design, stuff like that. But it was a lot of good back and forth with both sides.
So before we get into the
Mm-hmm.
off season, when did you report to Port Charlotte
Mm-hmm.
after the draft? And I know you didn't pitch in game with the
Mm-hmm.
Rays last year, or yeah, I guess technically
Yeah.
last year at this point. So what did your initiation into the Rays organization look like?
I came down and I was able to go to the Trop and sign and take some pictures and tour the stadium. That was pretty cool. And then came straight down to Port Charlotte. And it was all the draft guys. And we're just kind of getting accustomed to things, meeting new people, having a lot of meetings with the process development, player development, nutritionists, stuff like that. Just getting just good information from their side, having meetings with the pitching department. And then it was a lot of just, okay, this is what we're going to work on. We're going to just throw bullpens and try and fix a few things and see what we can work on and then get after it in the weight room. We actually did throw in, I guess it's kind of like the FCL. It's called the Bridge League. It's after the
Right.
FCL season. So we threw in a few of those games, but it was like inter squads, you're rolling innings and stuff. So it was like getting out there and getting your work in. But a lot of people diss on Port Charlotte. I don't have a problem with it. When you go from the desert to having the beach 30 minutes away, I'm like, this is awesome. So I've enjoyed it, but yeah, it's been great. I haven't had any time where I'm like, I'd rather be somewhere else. So I've loved being here for sure.
We'll be sure to clip that for the Port Charlotte marketing department.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, the draft guys love it. So it sounds like even the summer, to a certain extent, after you got picked up, was treated a bit like an off season. You were on a throwing program, a lifting
Mhm.
program, and just getting accustomed to the Rays way to a certain
Right.
extent. Okay, awesome. So then you get turned loose in the true off season, the
Mm.
late fall. Or did you have any camps or anything in the fall that you had to go to?
I had a strength camp for about a week and a half. I want to say the first week of November.
Okay,
So we went home. The hurricane hit down here, and so they sent us
right.
home early in the end of September. And so I was home for a month and a half. Came back for the strength camp, and then I was back home in Albuquerque until we came out last week of January.
Okay, and I guess brief pause from the normally scheduled content to say when you reported back in November, did you go through St. Pete at all to see the damage or
No, I flew into where did I fly into? I don't even remember.
Fort Myers?
Fort
Yeah.
Myers, and then I flew out of Sarasota. So I didn't even see any of that stuff. I didn't get to go to the beach. Nobody here had a car, so we were just vans and back. But I mean, even just around this area, trees were blown over, and it was kind
Right.
of crazy.
I was going to say that probably would have been a surreal moment to an extent to go from signing in the Trop
Hmm.
and your only memory there really is this unbelievable monumentous moment. Monumentous is not a word. I apologize. Momentous moment. So hand up, screwed that up. I've done that typing a handful of times as well. So trust me, I'm not that dumb, audience. I can at least stop myself after I make the mistake. But I'm sure that would have been really strange. So I just had to ask about
Yeah,
it.
no, I actually saw it twice since being down here. We've gone up to St. Pete a couple times, Tampa. It's crazy. It's every time I drive by it, like that's still bizarre to me, but it's nuts.
Yeah, it's strange. I've been back down to St. Pete a few times since the hurricane has happened. Just every time I drive by the
Mhm.
Trop, I just kind of left shaking my head or in awe of what it was.
Yeah. Oh, it's we're on the other side of it. Hopefully, it doesn't
Right.
happen again. So,
Yeah, fingers crossed, knock on some
yes.
wood, all the above.
Yeah.
But all right, so off-season plan now. Jumping ahead, again, regularly scheduled content. We're back to it. The off-season plan, you talked about trying to move fast. Were you implementing velocity-based training,
Mm-hmm.
VBT? You had
Yeah.
that?
Every single day, every time I was lifting, VBT was a part of it in some form or fashion because we use the Proteus at home as well, and so using that and then Retrove the VBT, and we were using it for everything, for dumbbell bench and rows, obviously squats, deadlift, split squats, everything. So we use that, and then we use tech for everything. Um, you have Pulse and then Flex Pro, Arm Care. We've used that for like the shoulder and back of the shoulder stuff. And so yeah, it was week by week. It got pretty boring just because it was like I'm doing the same stuff over and over and over, but I know that this is what I need. And so all the guys there, the Diego Baca, Tim Campos, Zach Mang, all those guys, Nick Romero, the PT guy, we'd go in there and get treatments done with him, but put together a great plan to kind of, all right, you got to move quicker, and this is how we're going to do it, and just follow the plan.
Question on this facility side
Mm-hmm.
of things. You have obviously spent a lot of time at ABA and with Campos, and we talked a little bit about it offline when we weren't recording. That really does feel like home to you. It's where you want to be. I would love if you could talk about, I guess, what you look for in a facility or why ABA means so much to you. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you feel that like kind of family
Mm-hmm.
or home-esque
Mm-hmm.
connection, but maybe to you, like what's the separators of facilities now?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just knowing everybody there and understand that they truthfully all want the best for you and are working day in and day out to try and figure out how to do that. You got all the buddies there that are doing the same thing that you want to, and that is the same for most places out there, but finding a coach that you can fully trust and they know you and you know them, and I don't know, I think it's a perfect fit. And I haven't really wanted to go anywhere else just because I know that I have gotten better through them, and it's a way to give back to and go and help out the young kids at nights. But yeah, everybody there wants the absolute best for you and are always pushing for better.
So it's somewhat of a people thing to an
Yes,
extent. Pretty much every facility at this point has all the tech. They have all
right.
the bells and whistles. So
Hmm.
it's finding somewhere that you align with, from what I understand.
Yep. I mean, yeah, they have. I don't know what else they could have. Maybe I don't know, a force mound, and Compost is already thinking about that. So
I'm sure.
so we're on that.
A sauna,
Sauna
maybe.
would be nice. I do actually have a personal one that I can put together. So maybe I'll bring that in.
Is it one of those like infrared portable-esque ones?
No, it's like a steam box. It's like a sauna steam room mix kind of. I don't know. I love it. I got it. What was that? Last winter, not this previous one, the one before that, but that would be cool. Maybe that Aiden and I got to get on that and donate a sauna to ABA.
That'll be the first thing you put your name on in there, right?
Yes.
The Kmatz and May sweatbox.
Yeah. There we go.
Perfect. I'm sure Compost would love that. It's kind of funny though. You think about how can these facilities even add more value. I know Compost would go crazy of having like a
Mm-hmm.
new force mound in there
Mm-hmm.
or something, some sort of actual force plates that not just for jumping, but for actual
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
sport.
Yeah.
Then you just try to round it out for complete wellness, and that's where all these gyms are going now. It's just it's almost like how can you keep people there?
No, it's got everything you need. So I love it. I plan on going back there every single off season.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, all the people that I've ever interacted with at ABA would make me want to go back. Now, I'm not sure if I'm willing to take the 4 hour plane ride over there, but who knows? We'll see. Everybody seems pretty hospitable.
You got to come hang out for a couple weeks in this off season.
That's right. Hey, don't twist my arm, man. I'll figure out a way. I'm not sure my wife will be too happy about it, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, there we go.
Now I do want to pick up again that
Hmm.
offseason plan, the throw fastballs harder, improve the slider, improve the
Hmm.
changeup. Let's talk about the specifics now. You struggled with a very similar concept back your sophomore year of college.
Hmm.
So how have you been able to stay dialed in, remain athletic, remain yourself while still focusing on improvement this time around?
Yep. I think it's at the base level of like understanding what you're good at. Don't let those go away, and then see where you need some work and really hammer those spots. And so I knew that I carry the fastball well. I throw a really good curveball and I have good feel for both. So let's make sure those don't change. And so constantly checking, okay, like are we in the right spot? And then from there, it's just be athletic, just moving athletically, letting your body work the way it needs to, with also getting to those numbers on the pitching side of it. Like I said, I think it was majority of the weight room which helped me move quicker, which also on the pitching side of things, it was the goal was like, okay, you're gonna long toss. I've always been a let's just lollipop it out there as little effort as possible, as far as you can. But then we kind of took a step back. It's like, okay, get this on a line, and practice throwing hard, because that's the only way you're going to develop it. And that's actually something we've worked on here with the Rays as well, and Christian Wonders and a few of those guys in the pitching department. So pretty much just be athletic, move move quick, and try to throw the piss out of that thing. Because I've always been a command dude that's just let me hit this little minute spot, and understanding too of, I guess, backtracking a little bit of what they like with the Rays is just throw nasty stuff middle and let it work. And I think that's something that Major League Baseball is kind of throwing on and taking in as their own, as well as just throw nasty stuff in the zone and throw strikes. And so I think doing that has freed up my body to allow it to throw a little bit harder, because I have more room for error. In the past, I'm trying to hit this tiny little spot, and so obviously my body's not going to be able to let itself do that at maximal force. I guess that was a long-winded answer, kind of bounced around, but there was a few good things that we kind of targeted to do that.
I like what you said about kind of removing the fear of making the mistake, and then it enables you to get higher output or reach that new level. So it's allowed you to change where your intent is. Instead of the intent of, I cannot miss, or this has to be so dialed into the location that it probably prevents you from going all gas, no brakes. But
Right.
now you spent an off season, or because of the philosophy of the Rays, accepting that stuff in just the raw sense, the overall movement, your arsenal outplays perfect location. So if you just let your stuff work, you can accept small little decreases in control or
Mm-hmm.
little things like that that will continue to up your game or up the projections of what you can be.
Exactly. Exactly. That was very well put.
Thank you. With this, I think is the perfect time for us to just talk up Christian Wonders for a moment. Because
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, I don't know why you and I haven't talked about him yet. I think it's because I constantly forget that Wonders is in the Rays
Mm-hmm.
organization now, just because all of my interactions with him have been with the Padres. But Wonders is as smart as they make them. That dude is a walking encyclopedia for human movement and baseball ball flight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been I know a decent amount of the terminology, and sometimes he spits something out. I'm like, I have no clue what you just said. And he is a smart baseball mind, and that's the other awesome thing with like the people that I'm talking about with ABA. The Rays have that too, and it's every pitching coach there is like, how do we maximize this dude's potential? And he's kind of at the forefront of that. And from what I've seen, the conversations we've had have been great, and seeing how he works with guys and he's like the master plyo guy. He just understands that stuff. So you just kind of listen to him and he does it. I don't know. He just does it.
What's your biggest takeaway or learning moment specifically from Wonders so far?
Yeah. I mean, kind of recently, it was like, it's so simple and probably thinking I'm going to say something crazy, but he told me it was like, did Usain Bolt become the fastest runner in the world by jogging? And like, I'm like, no. He's like, you look like you're jogging when you play catch. So to try and be the fastest person in the world, hardest throwing person in the world, you have to train like it. And you have to have that intent every time with it. And just being intentful with everything that you do on the throwing side of things. Every throw matters. So I'm getting the most out of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love when some of these people can have unbelievable education, speak with such sophistication, and then a major takeaway can just be, hey, in order to throw hard, you need to throw hard. And in order to
Yes.
do that, you need to move fast. So you
Yes.
should do it.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Why did I never think of that?
And yeah, that's the craziest part of like all this stuff can get so convoluted and
Mm-hmm.
complicated that you just don't think about how
Mm-hmm.
simple some of these things might actually
Yep.
be.
Yep.
Of course, now the movement and coordination of throwing a
Mm-hmm.
baseball is insanely difficult, and to
Yes.
sequence all that, it's
Mm-hmm.
not like it is as simple as, hey, just try to throw really hard and it'll
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into this.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Yeah, well that's awesome. I really love Wonders, and now I'm jealous that you get to interact with him daily. I'm probably gonna shoot him a text after this.
There we go.
Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the specific metrics that you're chasing down because I know
Mm-hmm.
you said to me in a text like what you're trying to get out of your slider.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you focus on like a specific result that you're trying to achieve, but still kind of toe that line of I need to get outs? Like, how do you
Yes.
compete with a track man versus compete with a
Mm-hmm.
hitter?
Yeah. And I think I'm trying to transition into that phase of things where it's just get dudes out and trust that the work that you put in on the track man to pay dividends in the game. And so um, I caught myself in live the other day. I threw a slider and I was like, "Hey, what was that?" And they were like, "Don't worry about it. Just pitch." It's like, fair enough. It is definitely hard for, and I know Aiden as well as a lot of guys that are very into it analytically. It's like you want to know what it's doing because if it's not doing what you need to, then you can change something, or hey, I don't have that pitch today. So I think there's a happy medium. But with the slider, it's like if I can keep it in a small range of 2 ± 2 inches vertical or horizontal, then I think I'm good and I just need to throw it in the zone. Outside of that, just try and, like I said, keep it simple. A lot of the stuff is very simple. We just overcomplicate it. In the bullpens, it's like, okay, what focus are we having today? Are we trying to do pitch design? Because then I can throw a pitch, look at the iPad, like, okay, I need to do this. I can need to manipulate the ball. I need to change my grip a little bit. Or it's like, hey, our intent today is sequences to hitters, just execute pitches. And then afterwards, you can see where the numbers doing what you wanted to with that game intent. So there's a little bit of both. It's not easy for me. I always want to know what every single pitch is doing. Making that transition is going to be different as we go.
Makes complete sense to me. I know that's a constant battle, and I think that's the tough part of being a smart, heady pitcher is you always want to stay in front of those things. Granted, I didn't play at the level that you currently play at, but that's kind of the world that I operated in and why I always struggle. Like just analysis by paralysis to a
Mm-hmm.
certain extent of wanting every single thing on a piece of paper on an iPad to be perfect instead of just accepting that if it gotten out, it was a good pitch.
Exactly. And I think that's something with my changeup right now too, of kind of spinning it as just an example is like my changeup analytically is bad, but it gets outs and it gets whiffs and it doesn't get hit. That's an example where it's like, okay, how do we put away the thought of like, I want to make this better on the sheet of paper, but if it's really good in the game, why do I need to change it?
Some of that goes back to our offline discussion really
Mm-hmm.
briefly. You talked about some of the other episodes that you checked out, and then the importance of arsenal design, how individual pitches fit into the grand scheme of
Mm-hmm.
things. Because, yeah, your changeup in isolation might be crappy, but if it plays really well off of your fastball and off of your curveball and with your slider, it doesn't matter that by itself it's crappy because your changeup doesn't exist in a vacuum. It
Right.
exists with the rest of your arsenal.
Exactly. And it's all how you use it. And that's the art of pitching is like, yeah, if I threw my changeup, if I go out there and I have 90 pitches in an outing, I throw it 70 times, I'm probably not throwing 90 pitches. I'm probably out of there in the third inning. Yeah, it's all relative off of your other movement plots. It's like, okay, I ride my heater at X amount and I need my changeup to be 10 inches less than that. If I'm there, then it's good off my heater and I can throw it in certain zones. Now it's different. Okay, my heater's bad. I need to make my changeup better. So yeah, it's making everything look like a fastball. That's the whole thing with pitching is make the pitch look like it's hittable and something they want to swing at. And then at the last second, it does something that they're not expecting. All right, maybe that's the only time that you're going to hear any audio. This diesel truck's driving by, but so trying to make everything look like a heater and like let their eyes get big, and then at the last second it does something, and maybe the numbers don't tell that, but hitters give you good feedback. So that is, I think, something that I'll learn this year too, of trying to go back and forth with the two, because previously I was always just get outs, and then I started learning more and more about the analytical side of things, and so I'm like, well, listen, I should only do that. So now it's how do you bring them both together?
Maybe the simple reminder there is the Rays also pay people to do that for you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You get
I
paid to get
remind myself
outs.
that sometimes. Yes.
Jacob, I think that wraps up most of my baseball questions. I do have my non-baseball little segment for you, and it's just about life. As a rookie in professional baseball, you have entered a part of life that not many have. You are married. So I'd
Hmm.
love if you could talk a little bit about the personal life, the other stuff that you guys have going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
No,
go
she's
ahead.
awesome. So yeah, Michaela, my wife, we were dating for 5 years beforehand. I think gets misconstrued. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you're getting distracted." I see it as like, no, I've built such a good relationship with this person. They know me. Like she lets me do what I need to do to get my stuff done to be prepared for the baseball side of things. And if I have that person and it's two versus everybody else versus one versus everybody else, I'm taking the two. So she's been awesome, and I'm curious to see how it goes this year of just different experiences, but there's no one else I really want to spend life with. So that's why I got on a knee for her. But it's been good. We share a unit with another couple, so we get to hang out and have some good time with them. But we go to the beach a lot. She's stuck inside doing homework a lot of the time. She's still trying to get her degree. She got her degree, but now is trying to get into ultrasound school. So she's grinding on her own. And then when we have some time, we'll go to the beach or something. But no, she's great.
Maybe the more pressing question here is, can she take you yard?
No,
No
zero
shot.
chance. Zero chance. We have this argument all the time. But no, she always wants to catch for me. She caught at GCU, so I think you knew that. And she tried to catch me one time. I threw her the curveball and smoked her in the leg. I'm like, you are never catching me. And if you couldn't even catch that, there's no way you're hitting it. So yeah, we have some good conversations about that. But again, like that's another great piece about her that I love is she understands the game and she understands the grind. It's easy. She makes it easy.
I'm sure she's helped with many a moments throughout your life, but specifically in baseball, has she ever been the one to point something out to you that has actually benefited your game?
Yes, and it's more. It's like the after the outing, I have a couple walks that didn't fill it up too well, and she's like, "Hey, you should just throw more strikes." And it's like, thanks, like yes. And I hadn't heard that from anybody else, and obviously that's true. But something like that, and But it is cool because we'll talk about like, okay, well, this is how she calls sequences to hitters at GCU, and it's a little different, but at the same time, it's the base level, same level. So you pick up on little things like that of so that's how they did it, and maybe that's comparable. So just little nuggets that you can kind of translate from softball to baseball.
That's pretty cool. I hope this moment doesn't happen, but I kind of would love if it did. Like if you got out of your pitch percentages, you stopped throwing your best stuff or something like that. I would love if you told me one day she got on the phone with you or she just met you at the dugout gate and you're just like, throw your best shit more.
I would love that. I would love that, and I'd probably punch out the side next inning. That's good.
That'd be so elite.
Yes,
Movie inbound.
yes,
Write it now. Disney's
no,
calling.
yeah. Goes
Yeah,
on to win the Cy Young after a low A conversation.
that's right. Yeah, but then of course we would have to tie it in where like somehow all 11 of the catchers in the organization get hurt and she has to strap up and next thing you know, like she plays in the division clinching game and yeah, that's we'll
She
write it.
makes it to the big leagues before me, and I get pissed.
That's where everything devolves.
Yeah.
But before the podcast devolves too much, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I
Mm.
like tapping into the personal life. That was awesome for you to share. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking because that doesn't get asked too much. But
Besides, like, oh, there's the married guy.
yeah, yeah. There's the idiot that threw his life away. I'm like, no, I'm playing chess. Y'all are playing checkers.
Yeah, it's a great way to look at it. Hey, I'm married too, got a kid on the way, so
Yes.
I'm right with you. Part of the reason why I don't know if I'll be able to swing the Albuquerque trip this off season.
Maybe in the future, maybe when it, boy or girl, I can't remember.
Girl on the way.
Girl, yes. So she can come learn some softball moves in a year or two.
It sounds perfect to me. Jacob, that does it for me. I appreciate all the time today. Is there a way people can follow you? I know you're not the biggest social media guy, but I
Mhm.
there might be somebody out there that wants to follow what you're doing in your career. I'd love if you could shout
Yeah,
something
I mean,
out.
I think yeah, I'm not super active, but on Instagram and Twitter, or I guess X, it's just Jacob Kmatz at Jacob Kmatz. No underscores or periods or anything, so pretty simple. So you should be able to find me.
There can't be too many Jacob Kamatzes out there.
Yeah, if you, I guess there's a better. I can shout out Zach as well as just look up Kamatz and you'll find either Zach or I. So there we go.
Yeah, if your brother's follower count starts increasing from nowhere, just love
Yes,
the layback
yes,
bump.
exactly.
Perfect, man. Well, thanks a ton for hanging out with me this morning. That does it on my end. And to all the listeners out there, thanks for laying back with us.